You're listening to MinerTalk on demand exclusively on 600 ESPN El Paso. Stay up to date with MinerTalk by downloading the free 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app.
Twitter Spaces, first look at UTEP basketball, Texas game. A lot of reactions, a lot of thoughts to this one. I am racing home right now. No joke. I'm literally racing home to do this MinerTalk. About to pull in my house, so nothing too crazy. Just getting things started over here. But reason being, we got kicked out of our studio due to a COVID outbreak, and our building is being sanitized for COVID. I feel great, no problem. I was actually a little under the weather last week, so I'm not worried whatsoever. Tested negative, feel fine, so no worries on me. Everybody else around us, everybody's safe, everybody's healthy, everybody's good. Sal's good, UTEP Zay's good, Steve's good, everybody's good. We're all good. So I'm going to pop in my house right now. We're going to talk some UTEP basketball. I'm going to pull out all the notes that I wrote down, and we're going to have a lot of fun here on Twitter instead of in our studio. So this is how we're going to do things. UTEP basketball, 72-57 loss to Texas. I know a couple of our good friends out in the city of Austin were at the game, like Alex Nicolas, who's here. I know that Pinky's out in San Antonio as well. He probably wants to chime in on this one. So if anybody wants to talk a little UTEP hoops, just request to speak here with us, and then you could pop on the mic. Just all you have to do is unmute your mic, and then you get a chance to go ahead and talk here. But yeah, UTEP gets a chance to go at it for their first time ever. Alex, what's up, man? You were at the Moody Center. You were there to watch a historic night and watch UTEP take on Texas. How'd it go? Alex, I'm just tossing it to you without any, how's it going? What's going on? Anything like that? You're on mute.
Yeah, there we go.
You're on mute.
There we go. I was talking.
I got you.
Hey, can you hear me? That's why I was asking you if you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear now, my friend. Right. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing, AB?
I'm doing great, man. About to get home, about to start this MinerTalk, get ready to go. Feel good watching UTEP. How do you feel?
Man, I feel great, man. And that's not the Michelob Ultras talking now. Hey, by the way, shout out to University of Texas. How about this for a promotion that they have, AB? So the first, I guess the gates open at 7. I got there about 7:15. And they have basically half-price beer until the national anthem from the gates are open. And
you're kidding me.
That's a great. So the Michelob Ultra, I was expecting to pay $14, but actually it was less because it was $5. So I don't know, it's less than 50%, 7, right? So $5 beer, man, less than 50% off. So that was great. Just a great experience overall for me, man. I mean, I don't mean to get too deep here, but I mean, I've been a UTEP basketball fan for 34 years, man, and to see that type of performance in that building. I felt for 35 minutes, AB, UTEP spoiled the whole hype of that, man, because that building had zero energy. A very beautiful building, man, but Joe Goldie, man, what a masterful game plan he put together, man, to get that kind of disappointment on the UT fans who were very quiet, like I said, for 35 minutes. Impeccable game plan. Maybe not so offensively. I was looking at the 14 turnovers in the first half, but I mean, man, you got to be encouraged just with the effort, with the scheming that they did defensively. I mean, Texas was clearly the longer, more athletic, quicker team, which really affect UTEP on the offensive end. And I think in the second half, you saw Joe Golding really kind of clamp down offensively and start drawing up plays himself, and kind of, instead of relying guys to go get shots, he manufactured buckets. And what that did is that opened up certain guys, and so to me, there was just I got so many thoughts on it, Adrian, because to me it's very impressive. In my opinion, Texas is a top 15 team, man, in the nation. I mean, this is a very, very good basketball team that UTEP really didn't get knocked out in, and that's what I was waiting for the whole time. Handicapping this game, it was opened at 21, went up to 23. My number had Texas at 30, man, and I watched a lot of Texas basketball last year. I watched a lot of Texas basketball, and Texas basketball won me a lot of money. So did UTEP unders. So to me, I thought this number was going to be crooked. UTEP really affected what Texas wanted to do offensively, in my opinion, from looking at it from right underneath the basket, being able to see it. And I text this to you, AB, when we were texting. The most impressive thing to me, man, and everybody's talked about this with Joe Golding, about how emphatic he is on the sideline and how animated he is. You know what? Tonight, Joe Golding was calm. He didn't have to scream about rotations. This team was talking. They understood what was going on. They understood their game plan. They understood how to rotate. They understood not to get burned. They picked passes. I mean, how you really didn't see it. I was counting it. It took 12 minutes into that first half for UT to finally get an easy bucket inside. That's game planning. That's this team believing it. And yeah, it's the first game of the season. I probably sound hype, but I was very, very impressed. Because like I said, in my opinion, I thought Texas was going to just blow UTEP out of the water. So, I mean, a great effort by the Miners. And like I tweeted earlier, Joseph Charles Goldie, man, he could coach him some college ball, Adrian.
I was in this game. I like you, Alex. I was very impressed by this defense that the Miners flexed. And I thought last year's defense got to a really high peak. And I thought this year, I mean, maybe this is a really quick overreaction, but I think this year's team could be a lot better than last year's defense. And that might be weird to say, but I actually think it could be considerably better than last year's defense. And I also think that when you look at this game, you also have to factor in the adversity that the Miners faced early on. I mean, losing Jonathan Dos Anjos, like that early into the mix, like he's in crutches and in the knee brace in the second half. That's a huge blow to their team. They were relying on John to be that guy who was their sixth man in this game. He was going to come off the bench and really help them in their scoring efforts. Calvin can't do it alone. Yet everybody around this squad stepped up in John's absence. And then you put, not only that, but you put in the fact that UTEP was really, gosh, look at the foul disparity. I kept getting texts left and right. I mean, from guys like Hunter, guys, like Steve, just getting texts left and right from people wondering what's going on with the officials. And I mean, the proof is right there in the foul disparity. 15 free throw attempts for UTEP compared to 29 for Texas. And I thought, here's how I would look at it from an officiating standpoint. I thought both teams played equally aggressive, and I just thought the officials called it one way on one end. And that's unfortunate for UTEP that they just didn't get the calls going their way. But at the same point, you got to give UTEP a lot of credit for not folding. They could have been blown out in this game easily. And I just feel like UTEP never folded in this one.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head, and I'm going to add to what you're talking about, where UTEP's going to be good defensively, because 2 minutes in, and forgive me because I'm going to be real with you, Adrian. I've read a lot of your articles. I know who guys are, but I've done play-by-play. I get to know guys' numbers by their numbers and their bodies, and I haven't seen this UTEP team at all. So I think it was number 13, the first 2 minutes gets his first foul. Automatically, the Golding goes to the bench. And here's the key thing. We didn't see Jamari Sibley, the most experienced player, come off the bench till I want to say under the first 15-minute mark. The reason why UTEP's going to be good defensively is because they have the depth to be able to go to the bench to deal with the adversity, which to me was foul trouble early. And don't get me started on that. There was a lot of calls that UTEP didn't get, but I thought really Joe Golding coached around it. You didn't see guys get emotional. You didn't see Golding right in the officiating. He trusts his team defensively, man. That's something that I really, as you know, how at the end of the game, I always like to ask him a few questions. That's one thing that I would love to ask Joe Golding right now is, how much do you trust your team defensively? Because in the first game of the season, they didn't bat an eye. And like I said, I was telling you earlier, Golding defensively, we've all seen it if we've been in the Don and we see him jumping around and cover this, hedge this. He was just sitting there with his arms closed, and that's with UTEP in early foul trouble. Where, like you said, Adrian, early in that game, it was 12-4. It was 12-4, and I told the buddy that I was with, man, Texas probably should be up like 26-4 at this point. You know what I mean? But UTEP's depth, and they're playing so hard and they're playing so sound defensively, nothing's leaking through. Texas still has to earn things on the defensive end, and that's where my excitement and encouraging is, because those first 12 minutes, I mean, UTEP won those first 12 minutes, man, and that was key because of the adversity. So like you're saying, Adrian, about the defense improving, to me it's the depth. But yeah, Dos Anjos, man, he I think it was a trip and a half up the floor when that happened, man. And I was excited to see this kid, and my gut fell down because you could just tell right away. I don't know if they broke to commercial or what it is on TV, but looking there, I mean, you could tell something was serious. It was not contact, man. I mean, And then at the end of the game, I don't know if they showed this on TV either, but he did come out and he was on crutches. So it's not a good situation there. But again, like you said, UTEP played through adversity, man.
Hey, Alex, it's great to talk to you, man. It's great to hear from you, and I hope you're doing well out there in Austin. Hope everything is good, and we got to get you on more of these Miner Talk Twitter Spaces after games. You kill it on these, and especially if you're there. I mean, come on, that's perfect.
That was real fun. Sitting on I-35 traffic ain't fun right now. That's my life here in Austin. But nah, man, let me know, AB. You already know what it is. Nothing gets me excited like UTEP basketball, man. I live and die by UTEP basketball, man. So it's good to see that. And hey, the Miners covered, everybody. They covered. So hey, there we go.
Good teams win, great teams cover, my friend.
Hey, man, AB. I hope everything's good with you, AB, man.
Great talking to you, Alex. Hey, appreciate it, man. As we continue here for Miner Talk, we'll invite anybody else on here who wants to join in and just talk about this game. UTEP, it was the first look. So, I mean, I have no negative thoughts after this one. Zero. I was talking to Sal throughout the broadcast. We're just zero negative thoughts on this one. It's one of those where you just take the good and the bad parts. Yeah, there's some turnovers, offense. How are they going to have an identity? There are the obvious things there. Sure. But as of right now, this is a brand new team. This is a team that hasn't played together at all. I mean, they played 2 exhibition games, and they took Texas Tech to the wire, lost by 4 points against that team. And this is the same group who pretty much competed in a dogfight against Tarleton State. So, regardless of any of this right there, I'm just taking positives after this one. And I'm looking at this one with a glass half full kind of approach, just based off what we saw today in UTEP's first game. If anybody wants to chime in after this one, just request to speak. We'll put you on here on Miner Talk. Unfortunately, not able to do our usual Miner Talk. It was a little bummer. We had to evacuate. For those who weren't listening to us as we started, we had to evacuate our building. We were having our building sprayed and sanitized, and we, as a result of our building being sprayed and sanitized, we had to evacuate. Like, they told us, hey, 10 o'clock, you have to be out. And I was like, hey, we're going to start at like 10 o'clock. But now, I mean, hey, we got to be safe. We got to do what we got to do. And had a couple people at work a little sick, so no problem at all. But if anybody wants to chime in on UTEP after their loss to Texas today, all you have to do is just request to speak. We'll put you on here with Miner Talk, and we'll talk a little UTEP hoops after this one. Now, just to kind of talk a little more specifics, MVP of this team is going to be Shamar Givens. He had 8 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. He had also a steal in this game, played almost the entire game. He is going to be a guard who is just a versatile leader. And maybe today we didn't get to see the splash side of Shamar Givens, but we will see it. Played a lot slower today, didn't get to really play in space, but that's a product of playing against a team like Texas. And, he's going to be so much fun to watch in the future. One of my favorite guys to watch today was definitely Otis Frazier. And I guess I kind of like what Alex was saying right there. For a lot of Miner fans who don't know these players, probably should reel off the number. But that Otis Frazier, he wears the number 23. Look, this guy, he's raw. Like, you could tell he needs more basketball in him, just games played under his belt. But this guy's already stealing minutes away from Jamari Sibley. How crazy is that? I mean, Jamari Sibley, we were talking about him being the most seasoned return vet coming back with this group, yet you see what you look at what you see on the court, and Otis Frazier's taking those minutes but earning them. I mean, he had a really nice game. And you want to come at me with the foul disparity? I'm not even going to go there, because look at what we saw today. Almost 30 foul attempts by Texas. UTEP shoots just 15 free throws. I'm not going that route. So if you want to come at me with that, we're going to have a different conversation, because I'm going to switch it over to the officiating. So I think Otis Frazier can buckle down defensively as the season moves along. I think that he can grow as an outside shooter, because we saw a little bit of it today. He drives to the rim pretty nicely, and I'm a fan. Otis Frazier is my like X factor to watch. He is who I kind of like. I fixated on Christian Agnew about 2 years ago when he was first coming onto the scene for the Miners. Really liked him as kind of that X factor type of player. I feel like Otis Frazier is that kind of guy, different position, and that's going to be big for the Miners moving forward. Want to welcome on co-host of Miner Talk here, Sal Montes, who's now joining us. We are free from the COVID sanitized building of Town Square Media El Paso, and we are keeping things on here on Twitter Spaces. How fitting, right, man? How fitting that we have to stay here on Twitter Spaces. But, hey, like I was telling you off air, I think we have 10 Miner Talks in total this month. The month of November, we have 10 different shows this month. So we will have plenty of chances to speak with our listeners.
Yeah, and it's not like it was somewhere in October, right, when they had the bye week. Well, there's a bye week for football this week, but we still have the 9-15 game against the Aggies. So don't worry. Plenty of Miner Talk to get you, in tune with the show. But, we're excited. Another basketball season is here, Adrian. But it's that November, right? November is basically like Black Friday for 5 months or for 5 weeks, rather.
Oh, you're exactly right. We're like never stopping this month. That's the crazy part about it. Like we're just kind of going one after another. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. This is one of our favorite months of them all. It's kind of when football blends, and a lot of people are kind of tired of football at this point, and they're kind of ready to move on to something else. But nonetheless, this is gonna be a lot of fun doing this. The Miner Talk Twitter space. We will hang on here as long as people hang on with us. And we'll go off to Kevin, who now wants to talk a little UTEP hoops with me and Sal. Kevin, what's going on, man? Good to talk to you. What do you think of UTEP basketball and the first chance we got to see this team?
Hey, Adrian, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, hey, man, what's up? Thanks for having me on. Hey, man, yeah, like you said, and what you touched on earlier, man, there's nothing to be upset about this team, honestly. Like, I see how good of a coach Golding really is, man, and it's awesome to have him under the helms. And the way I see him coach his teams and stuff, man, they're so disciplined on all ends. This is a team that listens to their coach, and that's something like I just wanted to point out real quick, man. It was awesome to see that. UTEP covered the spread. That's awesome too, man. I think we all won some money today, which is awesome. But one thing I wanted to point out, man, I'm loving what I see from Zarek Onyema, man. That kid balled out today, man. And honestly, seeing him from year 1 to year 2. I see the progression, man, and it's awesome to see that kid just kind of grow into that starting role, man. I think he came off the bench today, right?
He did come off the bench. Now, if you would have told me to start the game, and in fact, Voice of the Miners, John Teicher, did tell me this, but if you would have told me before the game that Zarek Onyema and Jamari Sibley would be the two returning players that wouldn't start this game, I would have said, well, what? They're going to start Kevin Kalu? But that's the exact that they went, and it was an interesting decision by Coach Golding, and I think it paid off. Gosh, we got to see both centers really go at it. I don't really think there's like any competition necessarily between Kalu and Onyema. I think you need to stagger minutes regardless. Like one night Onyema might play extended minutes, the next night it might be Kalu playing extended minutes. You need those both. You need both of those guys to kind of play a balanced amount of minutes. But very impressed with both guys. I think, I get it. Some people were texting me that the foul disparity was a little too heavy when it comes to those guys racking up quick fouls. But still, I loved what we saw from Zarek. I thought he played an outstanding game. Best player, I thought, tonight from the Miners.
Oh, heck yeah. Definitely my player of the game for sure. And, man, the officiating was god awful, man. Just on all cylinders, I wasn't watching the game, but I was hearing it, man. And I could, when Teicher gets upset, man, that's when something's going on the court. There's something not right going on. But I think they got into foul trouble early, and a lot of calls just didn't go their way, man. But, man, I love what I see from that UTEP down low, man. I think it's going to be a dangerous duo, moving forward. There's a lot of things they still got to kink out, man. But, hey, it's game 1. There's a lot of games left in the season, man. But I am so excited for this team moving forward.
Better or worse than last year, Kevin?
Oh, better. They're going to win 25 games this year, wow. Adrian, mark you.
Okay. All right, Kevin. It's a tough conference to say.
It is, man. Let's do it.
All right, Kevin. Good stuff, man. I appreciate it. Hey, we'll talk soon. Let's go off to Ronnie, who's joining us next here on the Twitter Spaces. Ronnie, you got a chance to watch UTEP basketball. They lose to Texas. Did you leave impressed, or did you leave still with more questions about this team? Whoops, I think you might be on mute. All you do is just unmute. There you go.
Man, what? UTEP's guard play is horrible. It's atrocious.
Wow.
No way they win. They couldn't win 25 games with Sule Boom having his best career. You know, Keontae Kennedy having his best season of his career. There's no way they're winning 25 games this year, man. Like, they lost too much. Like, and I'll give you a perfect example. Watch how Tay Hardy's walking the ball up and getting a 10-second play backcourt violation. Like,
yeah, Shamar Givens, but you're right. Yeah.
And then he almost throws the turnover later, but Carr steps out of bounds on a steal. Like, UTEP doesn't have a guard that can turn the corner and make plays consistently and get into the paint. You know, one thing you saw last year with what's his name? Jamal Bieniemy.
Yeah, Bieniemy.
He just consistently turned the corner. He got into the paint. He developed a jump shot in his second year. And so when teams would go heavy on Boom and try to do that, you couldn't really, because you got, you know, a 6'4" point guard coming down making plays. Keontae Kennedy grew into himself. And I'm going to tell you something, man. I don't know who UTEP would go to spark a run or close out a game. I think they've got a bunch of 8-9 point scorers on their team, and I think you can win some games being scrappy, certainly, but you're not going to beat the upper echelon of Conference USA, man, like that. You're just not going to, and to be honest with you, you know, they're probably a team that'll average, if I had to guess, somewhere between 60, maybe 58, 60 points, and that's also going to be hard in today's basketball to just beat teams, because we live in a world where kids are so much more skilled than they were 5, 10, 15 years ago, that you have to have guys that can put the ball in the hoop. I mean, their defense is great, and Golding's a great teacher of the game and scrapping it out, man, but they don't have a star. You know what I mean? They don't have a stud, you know? And for the last 2-3 years, I think us Miner fans have been spoiled, because 3 years ago it was Bryson Williams, and then the last 2 years it's been Sule Boom. And you know, when you lose that type of offensive playmaking and production, statistics show that your team goes backwards, not forward. And I'm not trying to bash the last guy that spoke, but I'm just talking to the statistics here, man. Like, you lost literally every starter, and you only brought back 11% of your scoring, and you replaced it with guys who, for the most part, all played on bad teams. I think the only guy that played on a winning team was the Solomon kid at Stephen F.A. And you saw that tonight, man. Like, you just saw that between Givens and Hardy, they couldn't keep Hunter. They couldn't keep the ball at the paint. You know what I mean? They just could not keep guys in front of them.
Okay, well, Ronnie, let me tell you this. So if you're telling me that UTEP doesn't have their knockdown score, or they're just their guy when it's like crunch time. Let's say they're going up against UAB, sure, and it's Jelly Walker on the other side. Sure. They're not going to go pound for pound. 100%. That's this team. You're right. They're not going to go pound for pound with a team like that. Their identity is going to have to be shut down the team's best player and beat them on defense. And I don't know how many wins that gets you in Conference USA when you're going up against some really talented players like that. But I do like their guard play. Like, I like what they bring from Tay Hardy and Shamar Givens for the future. I think it's going to take until January for this team to really turn the corner on everything, whether it's offense to find an identity, whether it's defense to round out to its truest form. I think and look at what we saw last year. The team struggled early on in the first 2 years because the first 2 months, because of how Joe Golding kind of runs his system. He really instills that defense first, and then he switches off to a little bit more of being offensive oriented. And that's kind of been his philosophy of building a team like that. Now, my biggest thing on all of this would be, I see where you're coming from with all this, but how much of that is actually Texas, putting together their best players on the floor, their best guards? You got Marcus Carr, who's played college basketball for 5 years. You got, these newcomers who are coming in left and right. like Tyrese Hunter, the former, all freshman of the year last year in the Big 12. You got all these great players going up against the Miners. It's tough to get into the paint and try to score if you're a guard. And yeah, you have to hold them to that standard that they have to score, at some point. I just think it was a bad game from Shamar Givens. Even he might even tell you that. And I don't think it was necessarily bad by an objective means. I think it was just bad on his end. Like he holds himself to a high standard. And I think we're going to see Shamar Givens score within 15, 20 points in certain games.
I don't know, man. UTEP didn't push the ball in transition, and that scares me. That scares me when guys are walking it up and trying to play in the half court. That's a no-no for me. That tells me, A, Golding doesn't trust guys' decision-makings, or B, guards aren't confident they can beat and get by guys. Once you get to January, man, everybody knows every play you got. And at that point, players got to make plays. You don't, like Rick Majerus told me, I don't need more plays. I need more players with skill to play and make plays. And that's what you got to have in January. And I'm just saying, man, I think their guard play is below average from a skill standpoint compared to what the league has to offer, but also in terms of what college basketball is offering. Let's not forget, man, Sam Houston goes on the road, beats Oklahoma tonight. You know what I mean? Teams are doing things that are either associated to Conference USA or at Conference USA's, level. Xavier Pinson gets cleared, right before the season's about to take off for the Aggies. So that gives them a whole different, look and a bit of sigh of relief. And so I'm going to stand by it. I know that I'll get bashed just like I did when I did with football after the North Texas game, but whatever. I do not like their guard play, man. I don't like it. I just don't think it's skilled enough or special or dynamic in one area or phase enough that it will just automatically be that much better come January. Will the team be better? Will the kids be better? Absolutely. But I don't know if it's going to take the jump and the spike that you need to all of a sudden see it go on a 5-6 game win streak where you're beating in those 5 or 6 games, the top 3 teams in your, you know what I mean? Like when you got to have that series.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, Ronnie. Let me ask you this. What do you think happens against New Mexico State? I get it. I hear exactly what you're saying. You have some really interesting points on all of this. I would still push back that it's way too early to make these assumptions. But hey, you're planting the flag early on, and I respect that. I respect that about you. But let me ask you this: what do you think happens this Saturday against New Mexico State? You brought up Xavier Pinson. He'll be eligible this week for the Aggies. What do you think happens?
Give me the Aggies money line, baby. Aggies going to win that game.
Oof. All right. I hear you. It's going to be an interesting one. It's at UTEP. They got to snap this losing streak against the Aggies that they have.
I understand where it is, and I understand how good UTEP's defense is. But Greg Hare's he's no rookie to this, man. He's out of the Jans mold and out of the Greg Marshall mold, if you will, too. Right? He was at Wichita State with Marshall back in the day, so he knows what he's doing.
Man, Ronnie, you're getting some hate right now.
That's okay. I always get the hate. I told you guys last year in March this would be the letdown season because Golding overperformed last year. I'm going to stand on that. The same thing happened to Michigan State. Mel Tucker in football. It happens. It's sports.
Over under 14 wins.
Ooh, come on. You got to give me the half there, man. You got to give me the hook at least.
All right, 14 and a half. Yeah, 14 and a half. Over under.
I'll put them right at 14. I'll put them right at 14.
All right, good stuff, man. Hey, appreciate it, Ronnie. Absolutely. You take care. You have a good night, man.
You too.
All right, we're continuing here on MinerTalk. This is the Twitter Space edition. We are here because, unfortunately, we got removed from our Lube and Go studios, and we had a little bit of a scare over the past week, but nothing wrong. We're good. Sal's good. I'm good. UTEP Zay's good. Chema's good. Steve's good. We're all good. So we're 600 ESPN El Paso isn't affected, thank goodness. Jason's good. We're all good. So our crew's good. Sal, any thoughts on what Ronnie said? Is this too early to make these takes, or does he have what points did you like?
I think with Ronnie, the expectations that he has, he's realistic, right? So even though he's saying, hey, he doesn't trust the guards, and then you're saying, hey, it might be too early, Ronnie's holding these expectations, high for the Miners, because he's right. When you go up against UAB, North Texas, the top tier teams of Conference USA, you can't be making those silly mistakes. So that could be what kind of hinders them, assuming, right, they play every other game the rest of the season in a flash of today's game. But I think the Guards will pick it up, near January, February, when those games are going to be that margin for error is a lot slimmer. The good thing though is that we know the defense can hang, and I always think if you have a good defense, you have a shot to win the game at some point. It's just a matter of what you do at that point in time. But when it comes to the defense, man, I really think they're gonna keep them in some games, and if they can win those dogfights, that's gonna be good for the Miners. So it's not like they're gonna be a completely terrible team. It's just, can they make that step offensively to really take them to new heights? Because if they have a chance with a good defense, but their offense is holding them back, what's going to happen when the offense becomes respectable, right? So I think over under. I'll go over. I think if I had to say number of wins, somewhere within the 19 to 21 range. I think that's a bit more realistic. But either way, though, the guard play was a bit concerning tonight. Although it was Texas, there's some really, really good Conference USA teams as well. Oh, and they play the Aggies potentially 3 times too. So can they look good against those teams? I don't care what they do against UTSA, Florida Atlantic, whatever the case is. It's the UABs, the Western Kentuckys, the top tier teams in conference. I want to see the offense perform against those teams.
Yeah, really good point, Sal. I think that you bring up some really good thoughts because, go for it.
And also, too, another thing I want to bring up, a positive this year that they didn't really have last year is the bigs, man, the rebounding. So with Hardy getting as many reboundings as he did, from the guard spot, that lets me know that everybody's hunting for the ball. And, there's going to be a lot better of a fast break offense. I want to see the transition game be a bit more clearer and fluid this season. And I think it will be because they're going to have more chances to push it, especially if they're out rebounding whoever it is they're playing.
This is game one. I mean, this is also just game one, their offense is going to round into form at some point. And I don't really care about the offense. I'm on the side that their defense is going to keep them in every game. It's just that I could see it already. I saw it last year at glimpses, and even at times they'd kind of waver, but this year way more than usual. It's just It's totally evident right there.
And you know what, too, Adrian? I think they can be in the conference tournament and play spoiler for a lot of the top tier teams if they're starting to shape up, because if their defense is there, man, there's going to be a chance for a large portion of that schedule. Let's just see if they have the pieces of the puzzle to close it out.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sal. That's a good point. Let's keep it going. Let's bring on Hunter, who's joining us next here on MinerTalk. I usually say our phone number, so I don't even know what cue to say right now. Hunter, what's going on, man? How are you?
Pretty good, man. How you guys doing?
Doing fine. Are you okay with this format, Hunter?
I hate it, dude.
I'm sorry. I know. Hey, we will never get kicked out because of a COVID sanitation again this season. I promise you.
Dude, man, I'm not. You guys are making us come into your all's world, man, with all these apps. And all this. I'm too old for this stuff, man.
All right, Hunter, give it to me. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
You know what's funny though is you said this time of year that people kind of get tired of football and they're ready for basketball. We're not tired of football, man. We're tired of UTEP football. It's not football in general. It's disappointment every year, and this is the only thing we have left to be optimistic about.
Oh, my gosh. That made me almost spit out my water. I muted myself, but I almost spit out my water there.
So as UTEP fans, this is it's kind of – we've come to the realization that football is what it is. Dimmel can't coach his way out of much, and now basketball is the only thing we got to look forward to this year. But Ronnie's a good caller, and the guy knows basketball. There's no doubt. I don't think he's a native El Pasoan, man. I think he's got a little more basketball acumen than the average person.
He knows his stuff. Yeah.
He made some valid points, but then also some of his points. It's obvious. He was saying he was a bit disappointed that the guards didn't get out in transition. That was by design. You think UTEP wants to get into a shootout with a team full of 5-star recruits that get run out of the gym? That's by design. Their only way they had a chance to stay in the game was keeping it in the 50s. And they almost did that. I mean, if Texas wouldn't have shot 29 free throws, I think they do stay in the 50s. because, and I hate to make excuses with officiating, but anytime you take away the aggressiveness of one team's defense and you allow the other to be aggressive, that has a huge impact in the game. Like, and we don't even know how big of an impact on the final score that has, but there's no doubt it has a big impact. So it was by design. They didn't want to get out and run. You're not going to beat UT at their game. That's the type of pace that UT wants to play. So I look at it as a positive, and UT's probably going to average close to 80 points a game this year. And UTEP, it'll show at the end of the season, was able to hold them under that average. That was the goal. Slow it down. Take good shots. Take long possessions. Make them work on defense. So they executed their game plan. I think come NMSU on Saturday, you're going to see a different strategy. I think they're more in the same league. And, the guard play is not at the same level as it was last year. But it's not about individual talent. It's about the team. And I think we can see that this team is a better overall team. They play better team defense. They rebound better. They have a toughness to them that I think was lacking last year. So Conference USA is not an elite.
Real quick, Hunter. Real quick, right there. I just want to touch on stay on, and remember the point you're about to bring up. But I just want to bring up something. When I talked to Joe Golding in the offseason, he used the word entitlement from last year's team, and I think you'd appreciate that word, the use of entitlement. That maybe it wasn't necessarily players thinking that they were entitled to what they had last year, but he was saying that this year's team is so selfless. Not necessarily, saying that last year's guys were bad by any means. Just saying, hey, they didn't have anybody looking over their shoulder. I mean, Sule Boom was going to be the guard. Jamal Bieniemy, no one's going to be the backup point guard to him. This year, you got Otis Frazier competing against Jamari Sibley, and everybody has an open competition at every position. There's no guaranteed spots. I mean, Kevin Kalu started today, for crying out loud.
Well, how do you game plan against a team like this? And I think that's the whole point. Is last year you could game plan against Sule Boom. You game plan against a guy like Keontae, and then if you're able to take one of them out, hey, it's going to be tough. But if you got a whole team full of balanced scorers and you don't know who's going to lead this next game, that's a tough team to game plan against. And you also don't know what kind of style UTEP's going to play. He intentionally slowed it down more than he even would like today to keep them in the game. They could go out Saturday and score 85 points because they could be running up and down, and hey, maybe we see a fun-filled game. We don't know that yet. They don't know that yet. I don't think they've discovered their identity. But the pieces are there. It doesn't look like it. It's Conference USA is not the Big 12 or the ACC or any of those. It's not an unbeatable conference. We have decent players in this conference. There's decent teams. There's decent coaching. So they're going to be right in the mix. They're going to win their 18, 19 games, and they're going to give themselves a shot in the conference tournament. Golding knows what he's looking for. He knows what he wanted in players, and that's what he got on this team. Doesn't look like what we've had lately, but what we've had lately also hadn't done anything in the conference. Also hasn't done anything in the conference tournament. So I'm optimistic with a different look, a different style of play, what this season could bring. So I look forward to it, and I look forward to your all's coverage, too, moving forward.
All right. Hey, appreciate it, Hunter. We look forward to hearing your calls after every show. Actual calls, all right? None of this Twitter space. So good stuff, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. We're going to continue here, MinerTalk. Let's keep it moving. Let's take some more people who want to chime in on this one. UTEP loses to Texas 72-57. Let's hear your thoughts. Just request to speak here with us here on MinerTalk. And we'll put you on. Up next, UTEP Mineto wants to talk a little UTEP hoops. UTEP Mineto, what's going on? How are you?
How you doing, gentlemen? No, I'm doing great. Just want to touch on some points that I heard earlier. I just want to let you know I don't say much about what's going on with UTEP basketball, but number one, if everyone saw the difference, these guys have hit the weight room. One of the things that they are playing as a team, and they're like more bonded. They have a bond, and they're playing very hard. So you're going to see more of that. You're also going to see, them turning that defense into an offense. But their priority this year will be locking down the defense. And with 11 new players, one returning, I would say mid-season is when you'll start seeing, them going to the basket a lot more, going inside a lot more. But for now, you'll see the first half of the season, you'll see this team locking down their defense and stopping teams. So just kind of things that I've seen, I've gotten to witness. So just want to let all of you know is that you guys are in for a big surprise once this team continues to do well and gel each game. You'll see a lot of improvement.
Okay. Hey, good stuff, UTEP Mineto. You have a great night,
You too,
man.
brother.
It's great to hear
Thank
from you.
you.
Appreciate it. All right, UTEP Mineto joining us next. We got to burn through some people who want to chime in. Hey, I really appreciate everybody's support on this. We're making it work. We're making this work after all, and things are working out. So I appreciate people making the transition with us here into the Twitter Spaces. 915 Sun City, you're on deck. Robert, you're joining us next, my man. How are you? It's great to hear from you.
Oh, good in yourselves. Good in yourselves.
Doing well, man. Doing well. What do you think of tonight's game?
I just think when it comes to the boom and the Bieniemy, all that last year, I mean, you heard Golding talk about it in his interviews. He always said, last year I knew coming off the bus I had 35 points in the bag. But I think this year he recruited to his liking, where it was much more balance and volume. You look at his Abilene Christian team that beat this Texas team. They didn't have those guys that needed to go up there and put up 19 and 20. They just had guys that just went up, put their nice little 9 to 10 different guys that they relied on. I mean, this team doesn't need Shamar Givens and Tay Hardy to put up 20 a game because they got guys like Frazier and Solomon who are aggressive in their own rights and they can go up, put up 9 to 10, So imagine that you got 4 guys, nice little 10 to 12. That's nice volume scoring right there. And I didn't even mention their bigs that they have. I mean, they're just this group, I can say they're a lot more aggressive. And defensively, I mean, I don't even have to talk about that because they played really solid. But when it comes to that point of the Bieniemy and Sule, I don't think they don't need that from the guards. They just need them to manage the game and score those 10 to 12 with a nice little 3 to 4 assists and play strong on the defensive end because they're going to get – because, I mean, this year I would say they have a stronger output from the forward aspect than they did last year. And I think that's why they needed Bieniemy.
No doubt, I agree.
They needed Bieniemy and they needed Kennedy and they needed Boom to go put up the 15 to 20 a game because they didn't have anyone else to do that. And this year they got guys who can just put up 10 to 12 in battle.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, I think it was the Chris Jans team, like right before the pandemic. They could go like 11, 12 guys deep. And, they had some talent, no doubt. They had some really, really good talent on that roster, but the talent wasn't like overwhelming to where you were like, oh my gosh, it's hard to find time for some of these guys. Like, I feel like this team has a lot of interchangeable parts. Like, you've got, before his injury, you had Jonathan Dos Anjos and Calvin Solomon, who could be interchanged. You had Kevin Kalu and Zarek Onyema. Those guys can sub in for each other. Malik Zachary, Tay Hardy, and Shamar Givens. You can play 2 out of those 3 all the time and kind of stagger those guards. Although I think Zachary definitely needs some more polishing. Some of those other guys are pretty impressive. But I think you bring up some good points, Robert. I also really like the front court play. I think it's a lot better than last year, and that's what they needed, right? They absolutely needed their front court to move a lot further along than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the recruiting aspect, like you can see the complete change in the mindset between Terry and Golding. Terry recruited the talent and the big names. Golding, all he needs is dudes that are willing just to go bust, give it their all, and you can see that. They're not dudes there. They weren't the flashy names, but they were the dudes with the chips on their shoulders, like he said he got. And I think those are the guys he likes, and it showed. I mean, they took this Texas team all the way down to the last final minutes, and no one expected that. But, I mean, yeah, it's first game. I don't want to overreact, but I like what I saw today.
Okay, good stuff, Robert. Hey, appreciate you joining us here on MinerTalk and on Twitter Spaces and making the transition over here with us on social media for that. So appreciate you, man. Good to hear from you, Robert. Hope everything is good. Let's keep things moving. 915 Sun City, he wants to join in, wants to talk a little UTEP hoops. Really quick, right before 915 Sun City. Sal, any thoughts on what we just heard? What we just heard from our 2 previous callers, both Robert and UTEP Mineto.
I think there's some good points. What I love the most is that after one game, there's so many different takeaways from everybody, right? Like everybody has a different takeaway from tonight's game. And when you really break it down, everybody's right in a sense. So to look forward to more things that this minor team can do is going to be exciting because it's going to be a brand new team. I mean, a lot of the guys who shine, basically majority of them, they're not on the team anymore. So this, I don't want to say it's a brand new team identity wise because I think that core is going to be defense still. But guys are going to have to step up and make some plays, and maybe guys who were on the bench last year, they can see themselves as veterans on this team now coming in and everything is open, like shops open, right? Everybody can kind of plan and establish themselves as a leader. I think it's going to be givens when it's all said and done, but Onyema is going to be exciting to see. Solomon's going to be exciting to see. Kalu. Oh man, I'm super excited to see what he can do. And then for the newcomers, we'll see what they can do as well. But just kind of getting everybody's takeaways, I love it because we don't know what we're going to see against New Mexico State. So I can't remember who it was, if it was Hunter or Kevin, who said that. He's right. We listened to Ronnie earlier today. He's right. You just heard from Mineto mentioning that guys have gotten a bit bigger. I'm excited, man. So what do we make of this game one? I don't know, but there's a lot to look forward to this year.
It's kind of like unwrapping a present at Christmas and it truly being a surprise, right? Because this was a real surprise. I had no clue what to make of this team, no clue what the starting lineup would be. I had to reference my roster multiple times just to make sure I could put a face to the body and stuff like that. Just to one point really quick that and I'm sorry, 915 Sun City, I know you've been waiting, but one point to Robert real quickly. I don't know if you can easily just shrug off Jamal Bieniemy and Sule Boom. I think those guys, the scoring can never be taken for granted. And that was something you felt right away when Bryson Williams left the team and they had to find their own identity, life without Bryson Williams when they were so one-dimensional with him scoring. Like, you can't take for granted those guys who can get you buckets, 17 points, 20 points a night. That stuff is so hard to replicate in this era of college basketball. So, going back to Ronnie's point way back then, I guess that's something that he could bring up on his end. If you're going to argue that the guard play isn't far along, or even if this team can't be far along offensively, that could be one of those points you make, that they might not have that Sule Boom or Jamal Bieniemy, and they're going to have to prove they can win by a score by committee approach, at least early on. So 915 Sun City, man, what's going on? It's great to hear from you.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Adam, how you doing, man?
How's it going?
It's going great. How about yourself, man? What'd you think?
Look, found a team that looks like they have an identity. It looks like they know what they're doing. Is it pretty? No, but man, I appreciate the fight. I appreciate the grit. I appreciate the rebounding. Was it Shamar Givens that's number 5, Adrian?
Man, you're getting me on numbers. Let me pull up my box score. I thought it was right next to it.
I just remember number 5. I was just impressed with him.
Yeah, that's Shamar.
That bringing the ball up the court, he didn't, other than the 10-second, he didn't get caught in the backcourt. He didn't get trapped. They tried to trap him a few times. He was able to break the press, even without any help from any UTEP players. So I think that was real nice. He handled the ball real nice. I think we have a lot to look forward to. It's an MSU week where we already have our eyes on that. I already see an NMSU Aggie listening into our MinerTalk. So that's
shout out Eric, good guy. Shout out Eric.
So it's Aggie week. It's going to be a great atmosphere on Saturday. I want 10 plus in there. I don't see why we shouldn't get 10 plus in there. I don't see why we shouldn't have a sellout. $9.15 for tickets. What else are you going to do on a Saturday night?
Come on, man. This is basketball. We're not watching football anymore. Like Hunter was saying, you don't have to worry about watching UTEP football. All you have to do is worry about watching UTEP basketball. And Joe Golding, with a big mic drop at the end saying that this program needs to beat NMSU. He hasn't beat NMSU, obviously, since he got here. So that's something that he wants to get, kind of off his back. And I think that's kind of the kitchen sink game early on, right? If you're going to beat New Mexico State, beat them early while they're still trying to get adjusted to things, while everybody's just trying to feel themselves out early on into the season. Beat them early. I know both teams already have their some film out on them, but this is the time to get up on the rivals and try to instill yourself in this new era. Isn't it kind of cool? Also, we got a new iteration of this rivalry, Joe Golding versus Greg Heyer. We got a new kind of era of this, so that'll be fun in itself.
Can I give you my key to victory on Saturday?
Sure, go for it.
Key to victory on Saturday. We may struggle with some shooting or producing some threes. What we need to do is we need to be very aggressive from the very beginning. We need to get them in foul trouble. We need to drive to the basket. We need to get fouled. We need to live at the free throw line. And if we live at the free throw line, and then we add that in addition to our rebounding and our defense of what we did tonight, I think we're going to be in good shape.
Keep it low scoring, man. Keep it low scoring. If you're UTEP, you want this game in the 50s. You want this game low scoring. So good stuff, man. Good stuff, Adam. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks for chiming in here, and thanks for joining us here on this end. I know that we've been transitioning over here on Twitter Spaces, so we'll keep it moving. If anybody wants to talk a little UTEP hoops, all you have to do is just request to speak. It's the mic that pops up here on your screen. Request to speak, and you can give your take on UTEP basketball's opener against Texas. We'd love to hear from you. UTEP Zay joining us next, our fall intern. Zay, you got a chance to watch the UTEP women's basketball play today. Before we get your thoughts on the men's, give me your thoughts on the women's basketball team. Kevin Baker, another team, another group. It's going to be an interesting year for UTEP women's basketball. How'd it go?
Man, if you guys don't like UTEP, like men's basketball, the way it's maybe some people might be boring, they're grinding out games. You got to go watch that women's team. They're a fun team. They press, force turnovers. They shoot threes. They're a fun team to watch.
Better or worse than last year?
Better. They're grittier, but they're just it's I don't know. It's a different feel around this team, and I really like it. I really like this.
Strengths and weaknesses, real quick.
They have the three. Shooting is going to be a weakness again. Teams if they figure out how to beat that press, it does lead to a few open layups. If anything, that's their biggest weakness, shooting and trying to get back on defense.
Okay. All right, now give me your thoughts. You watched and followed from afar on UTEP men's basketball. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't want to base too much off, his first game and, you're playing against Texas. But, yeah, you do kind of worry who's going to be that scorer, who's going to close out games. You need a bucket. Who are you going to go to? I still really don't know. I'd say maybe Shamar Givens, but you really don't know. Shooting, I thought was going to be a way bigger issue. But, they knocked down some threes, and I was kind of surprised with that. I like Calvin Solomon. He was pretty aggressive, maybe too aggressive at times, trying to bring the ball up, turning the ball over a few. But I really liked the way that they played, and you just worry about, who's going to close out the games.
I think that closing out the games defensively, you could pick probably like 7 or 8 guys even off the first game who could fly out there in the mix, who can, I could see playing down the line in crunch time minutes. But who's going to hit that big shot? Who's going to be the Jelly Walker? Who's going to be that kind of guy who's just not afraid? Like, look, last year's season came down to who could make the final shot against Middle Tennessee for UTEP. It came down to that. And UTEP couldn't hit that shot. UTEP had one of the leading scorers in all of Conference USA last year, and they couldn't hit a game-tying, game-winning shot to go and beat Middle Tennessee, advance to the semifinals of the Conference USA tournament, and move forward. And that's that next step that UTEP needs to take. And whether it's Shamar Givens, Calvin Solomon, Jonathan Dos Anjos, I don't care who it is. It could be anybody right there, but it's got to be somebody, that guy who has that it factor to them, to kind of close out games. And I think we can speculate all we want about all these players, but until we see this team win a game and do something like that, then we can make those assumptions. I mean, Sule Boone closed out games, or he single-handedly won games sometimes, it felt like. And Keontae Kennedy had his big games. Jamal Bieniemy, his big games. So now it's about UTEP fans realizing, hey, it's a long season, and there are going to be games where Calvin Solomon scores 20 and has 10 rebounds, or Shamar Givens has 15 points. But getting to that next level is where UTEP is ultimately trying to get to, and that's getting that knockdown score in crunch time minutes who can win you a game. So good points there, Zay. I appreciate it, man. Any thoughts on Saturday against New Mexico State before I let you go?
Yeah, there's not much that I know about the Aggies. DeSandre Washington is someone that Joe Golden wanted, his staff wanted.
Good
He's
point.
gonna Who's gonna guard him? He's a big wing. He's a big wing. He can play. Who's gonna stop him? Who's gonna stop Xavier Pinson? So a lot of questions, but I want to see it. The Don rocking. I want to beat the Aggies.
All right. Good stuff, UTEP Zay. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, man.
See
You
you.
take care. Good stuff by UTEP Zay. Let's keep it moving. Let's bring on a family member from the Onyema family. It's Kenny who's joining us here next. Kenny, welcome on to MinerTalk for the first time, I believe. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Kenny, I'm doing great. We got a chance to watch your brother. He was chefing it up against Texas. His former coach Rodney Terry, the guy who brought him to UTEP. What did you think of this game?
I really felt that he played well. The team overall, they did well defensively. I feel that one issue they had was just playmaking. Just trying to find the right guys, the right shots. Because I know there was a lot of forced shots that I was seeing, but overall the defense was the identity for the team. So it was just good to see.
I'm not surprised to see the forced shots at times. I think, gosh, you're in enemy territory. You're watching as Texas is opening up their brand new arena, and this is, everything is so exciting for those fans. It's just a real hostile environment. And I think it's tough for some of those. I think they might get a little tight. You know what I'm saying? Like when the lights are the brightest, it's the first game out there. You might force some of those shots, but I think they'll kind of clean those up when you see them play here in late December, early January. And that's when it really counts, right? That's the Conference USA stretch of things. But all right, tell me what you liked about the front court specifically. Since your brother plays with all the forwards, you see guys like Calvin, guys like John, guys like of course Kevin. What's your impression on the front court so far?
Yeah, I feel they were aggressive. The boards, they were boxing out, getting guys open on the screens. I noticed a lot with the pick and rolls. I wish they utilized it a bit more because they were really aggressive in terms of trying to get to the basket. Their defense down low was really good. I know there was some backdoor cuts that were going on, but overall it was good defense.
Yeah, I agree.
Front court. Yeah,
I'm with you, man. What do you think for Saturday, New Mexico State?
I hope they keep that same intensity on defense. And I'm not sure what the issue is with McKinney, but I hope that he's over there and he's playing against his former team and that he can ball out that game.
All right. Hey, good stuff, Kenny. Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for joining us here.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, you take care. You have a good one. That's Kenny Onyema joining us here as we continue on MinerTalk. Just to touch on his last point about Mario McKinney, that's a really good point that he brought up. UTEP head coach Joe Golding talked about Mario McKinney, saying that he expects him back by the time they tip off against New Mexico State. Now, the interesting part about this is he's been away from the team for a while, and I hadn't seen him at practice. I didn't see him last week. I didn't see him, the week before. But prior to that, he's eccentric. He's all over the place. Mario McKinney, I have no worries if he's like leaving the team or transferring away. Now, I'm not going to speculate with any of that because from everything I've been told, he's still with the team. Joe Golding is saying a really good quote today about Mario McKinney. Quote, "We believe in taking care of our players. He needed time and space, and he's still around, and I've loved how Mario's progressed." Talking about Mario McKinney potentially rejoining the team as early as this week to get ready for New Mexico State, his former team. So should be really interesting when he joins the squad and just kind of seeing the guard depth that they have. But speaking of depth, and, we talked about this earlier, but Jonathan Dos Anjos out for, at least for this game. He lost it. He was out against Texas, I'm saying, was seen in crutches toward the end of it. Coach Joe Golding, talking about the Dos Anjos injury, said that they're going to get back to it tomorrow. Docs are going to look at it. He's in crutches, so it's obviously not great. Hopefully it's just a sprain. That's what Golding said, but they're going to get an MRI tomorrow to try to confirm what they saw. But awkward. Alex described it earlier when he joined us here on the MinerTalk Twitter Spaces. But yeah, just an awkward fall from him. I just hope the best for John. If anybody else here wants to chime in, UTEP loses 72-57 to Texas. We could take any final thoughts, final questions thoughts about first impressions about this team. All you do, request to speak, we'll put you on. I promise you, if you don't want to talk too much, you could just give us your quick thoughts and we can move on from there. I'll read some tweets. We'll get that going as well. I did not read any tweets whatsoever so far, but we'll do that right now. So, and Joe Chacon, he's just fired up. He's so pissed off that I have not read a single one of his tweets, that he's trying to blow up my phone. I'm sorry, Joe. I've been too busy trying to mute people and put people on here with us. Series of tweets from Joe. Casey Onyema, I'm loving what I'm seeing from this game from your boy. He's going to have a solid year. And then he said, did you like my tweet? I'm liking what I'm seeing from the game and your boy. Joe Chacon just with a double tweet. He wants to make sure our good pal Kingsley Onyema knows that Joe Chacon loves what Zarek Onyema did today in the game against Texas. So there you go. Big shout out to the Onyema family and Kingsley, who Joe Chacon just tagged in that tweet. I don't know what's going on there, but it's hilarious. King Eric tweets the show. Well, first game in the books. We didn't really expect much, although some positives came out of this. I think Calvin Solomon can develop into someone that brings energy night in and night out. Going to be an interesting season for sure. Well, it's a brand new group right here, Eric. It is going to be a very interesting year. Carlos Martinez tweets the show. 1 point to their 16 points on fast breaks. UTEP plays slow down basketball, but like a comment was made on the Longhorn Network, if an opportunity comes up before setting a play, execute. Hardaway, Rivera, and many others played that way. Great offensive rebounds and second attempt points, Miners. Interesting points there. I think that's also what Ronnie talked about earlier as well, about kind of the pace of play. And I think even Hunter talked a little bit about that. He mentioned a little bit about why they were playing at that pace. Let's keep it moving on Twitter. This one, this is UTEP Mineto. The calls against the Miners took the wind out of our team. It's hard to compete, let alone win, when you've got three blind mice calling in favor of the Cows of Texas. Let's bring on one of our reoccurring guests here on MinerTalk. I think this might be the first time on the MinerTalk Twitter Spaces, but maybe once before. Kingsley Onyema, what's going on, Mr. Onyema? How you doing? Now we get Kenny Onyema, and now we get Kingsley. This is awesome. And we get Joe Chacon asking for your if you saw his tweet, because he wants to tell you how much he loves your son. A big night for the Onyema family.
Hey, Adrian, how's it going?
It's great to hear from you. Welcome to another season.
Thank you. Hey, yeah, we're back at it again. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the game. I was at work. I was, military service. I wish I could have that opportunity to watch it out in my office, but I wasn't able to. But I'm going to watch it now that I'm back. I just got back home. So tell Joe, I saw his tweet. I actually pressed like while I was driving. So I'm going to retweet it when I finish dinner. And listen, I've been, a lot of people have been calling me and texting me about how Zarek did and the team. But I mean, for me, it's the overall concept of the team. One person can't win the game. It's all team effort. So, and what I told Zarek is get out there, give it all your best every time. Put in the work at the gym, days in, days out. Don't wait to be told to work out. So he knows my work ethic when it comes to the gym. I'm one of those gym rats and all whatnot. So if there's anything like that, so he kind of knows that I call him every day to make sure he went. He worked out and he did brought some shots. Did some shots up over there at the gym, and then that he actually. And he sent me videos of his workout. That's how intense it is. So he did something. I wasn't surprised, to be honest with you. I believe the team is gonna go far this year. This is just the beginning. Yeah, let's give the kudos to Texas. They were opening up their new arena. Great job. Yeah. But I think, in the grand scheme of things, if they played well offensively, I think they would have actually took home a win. But let's see I just want that battle of the I-10 we gotta win that game next weekend. I don't care how they do it, but I just want to win. Period. But overall, I appreciate your reaching out. I'm gonna retweet every tweet that I saw. Just in case if Joe is listening, I'm gonna retweet.
Oh, he is listening. He's ready. He's asked you 3 times.
So, Joe, please, I'm still in my uniform. I'm gonna retweet it. Trust me, I'm coming. I'm getting to it. Okay, but I appreciate and we'll look forward to seeing you all soon. Actually, sometime towards the end of this month, we should be coming out there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great news.
Mm-hmm.
Kingsley, when did Zarek learn to shoot a 3-pointer like that?
Be honest with you, Zarek was a great 3-point shooter in high school. He was the best. So, but I think when they recruited him, Coach Terry told him that no, he banned him straight up from shooting any 3. So he told him that all he's gonna do is the bigs role, which is rebounding, blocking shots, and rebounding and putting it back into the net, of course. But he didn't give him the opportunity to shoot 3s. And I remember one moment, I think it was Titus Verhoeven. He made a 3-pointer. So I was like, wait a minute. So some bigs could shoot 3. So why not Z? That he's used to. In some games he made in high school or in AAU when he played his only AAU that he actually played. He made about 7 3s in a game. So I don't know why they stopped him from shooting 3s. So, but now he said Coach Golden told him if the opportunity calls, I haven't watched the game, so I don't know. I have a coach that texted me, "Did you see this? Okay, your son put up a 3."
Oh my gosh!
I haven't seen it.
I'm ruining it for you. I ruined it for you. I'm sorry.
No. It's okay. It's okay, Adrian. No, I'm gonna watch it. Trust me. I'm gonna watch it. I wanna watch it and then give him my own feed. I have my own because I critique every game that he plays. That's my job. I don't know. Everyone will sing all the praises and all whatnot, but me, I go hard. If I see any mistake on that joker, he's gonna ask me. He's gonna answer some questions about that mistake. So, but overall, he's a good point. He's a good 3-point shooter. So let's hope that this is just a tip of the iceberg. Let's see that he's gonna throw out some more 3-pointers out there because he's capable of it. He's fully capable of it. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I love it. Kingsley, it's great to hear from you. Thank you for your service, by the way. I didn't say that earlier. And appreciate you joining us here on Talk. It's always great to hear from you. Good check-in from the pops of Zarek Onyema.
Hey, thank you, team. I appreciate y'all.
All right. Zarek Onyema's whole family joining in with us. We had Kenny earlier, Kingsley joining us now. Good chat right there. Sal, I love the 3-pointer. That 3-pointer was killer. Come on. We saw the thunderous dunks last year, and now people are going to go crazy over the Z3s.
The Z3s, that's cool, man. That's a good signature shoe name. I'm excited, man. But with Zarek, I think he could be the crowd favorite again this year. I mean, I don't want to say it's hard to do. I mean, I don't know. There's no stat for it or anything, but when you can have a guy that people love watching because they're excited of what he's going to do next, this just adds something else to the show that is Zarek Onyema, right? So if he's out there getting boards, he's a lot bigger this year, but he's also shooting the 3. That's going to spell trouble for whoever they're going up against. And if there's a double team on him, that opens things up for other guys too. So a step in the right direction. But yeah, I don't even know who Curry is anymore. I'm all about the Z.
Good stuff. Hey, we're going to wind things down here on the MinerTalk Twitter Spaces. We stayed on a good amount here, a good amount of time, and this was a lot of fun. I'm so happy that people actually made the switch over. We had to leave the studios today. Just had the sanitized company coming by. They had to be in at 10. We can't be inhaling that stuff. So, we had to switch things over to Twitter and really appreciated everybody chiming in with us. We record this one, thankfully, and we're going to be able to put this one on the podcast just so in case anybody missed any of this, they can listen to the replay of it. But we'll hang on here in case anybody wants to chime in with their thoughts, the first look at a UTEP basketball. Give us your thoughts, your first reactions ahead of the New Mexico State game. That's Saturday. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be ready to go, and I'm just excited to watch UTEP in person after watching them on the TV. I think that when you get to watch them in person, you kind of see the little nuances and stuff, and you miss that from the broadcaster just listening to it on the radio. So really looking forward to seeing them in person Saturday. So like Kingsley, I can give him my full scope, and I'll be harsh. I'll grade harsh just like Kingsley, like he was saying when he grades Zarek's play after watching it. So we'll stay on here just for a little while longer in case anybody else has some thoughts about UTEP and their loss to Texas. This was a good Miner Talk. This was a lot of fun to do this with everybody here. Just to run things down, quick thoughts on players. Tay Hardy, 4 of 8 from the floor, 9 points, 3 rebounds, a block, and a steal, 3 turnovers. I think that's one. That's the obvious thing to clean up the turnovers. Shamar Givens, 8 points on 2 of 6 shooting. Didn't have the best shooting night. He'll tell you that. 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 steal. Yeah, that was kind of a highlight reel steal too. So good stuff by Shamar. Calvin Solomon, 7 points on 3 of 10 shooting. I know at one point he looked pretty erratic, and they took him out, and he kind of settled down. 2 steals. He did foul out. Otis Frazier was one of the biggest surprises to me today. Started, by the way, 9 points, 3 of 7 shooting, and had 4 fouls. He was one of the guys who got in quick foul trouble, but just kind of all over the place. Very raw. I want to see more minutes from Otis Frazier. Very raw. Kevin Kalu, 5 points on 2 of 3 shooting. Looks like a completely different player. I do not recognize that player right there. He looks totally different. I mean, he's gained like 20 pounds of muscle. He looks great. Malik Zachary, 1 of 5 shooting. He struggled today, but it's going to be expected to see some of those guys like him, Carlos Lemush. Those guys are going to kind of struggle. The junior college guys who are making the transition to D1. And then the Jonathan Dos Anjos, I just hope that they get him back. That's going to be such a tough loss if they lose him early season, even if it's a sprain. I hope it's nothing horrible, but even if it's a sprain, you don't want to lose somebody like that. It's somebody that you put so much stock in, I guess, going into this year. Jamari Sibley, 7 points on 3 of 8 shooting. I like this off the bench Jamari Sibley. I'm all in. Like I asked myself before the season started, I don't know where Jamari Sibley fits on this team. And I think we saw it today. He's the perfect off the bench spell anybody off. He could play the 4, play the 5. He played the 3 all off season long. And then John Dos Anjos gets hurt in the first minute of his play. And Jamari Sibley basically has to scrap everything he's done this off season and go back to the traditional 4. So there you go right there with Sibley. I liked his role. He needs to get better, of course. I think everybody can see that. But 7.7 rebounds, 30 minutes of play. Jamari Sibley, I like the off the bench role for him. I think he might fit that role nicely. Zarek Onyema, player of the game in my opinion, 10 points, 3 of 4 shooting, 4 fouls in this one, 2 rebounds, a steal, a turnover, 22 minutes off the bench. Again, I don't think bench really means anything for these guys. I think there's going to be an even distribution of minutes. If you look at today's game, you saw Jamari Sibley, who played 30 minutes. You saw Shamar Givens, who played 37, and Tay Hardy, who played 32 minutes. Those are your leaders in minutes played in today's contest, and that's pretty much it. Miners shot a 43% from the floor in the first half, couldn't hit a three-pointer, then hit 5 3-pointers in the second half. They shot 45% from beyond the arc and just 39% from the floor. So that's where they obviously are struggling at the more on the shooting side of things, but shot 40% as a whole as a team today, and then of course 33% from beyond the arc. Only 15 free throws to Texas's 29. So I think a lot of fans were upset about the disparity, but nonetheless, UTEP turns the page. They got New Mexico State Saturday. We will have the real version of Miner Talk, which is on 600 ESPN El Paso on Saturday after the game. No problems, no dilemmas anticipated for that. That's the 7:00 tip. Myself, Sal Montes, maybe a little Jason Craig, UTEP Zay will be back in action this weekend. We'll bring you updates. We'll talk coverage. We'll talk UTEP. and we'll move forward. Sal, any final thoughts as we wind things down, man? We're getting ready for Battle of I-10 this weekend.
My thoughts are be excited to see what is a glimpse of what you can get a grasp of later on in the season. And I bring this up because if the Miners are testing themselves against really good competition early, that's got to be a sign for what may come, when you take on the upper echelon teams of Conference USA. And like we mentioned earlier, they could play the Aggies a potential 3 times. And I think we'll get a really good measure, probably like by the second game of the Aggies or maybe, of course, the third game. So this is really round 1, of what this team can look like. So I'm excited. Also, the word that McKinney, would be available is there, or, the thought of it is there, which is going to be exciting. And that's another factor that we didn't get to see tonight. So what I could take from tonight's game is they can play defense with the best of them for a large portion of the game. Now let's see what they could do against somebody who is a bit better than them, but they have a more realistic shot of beating.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think that, to your point about the newness, I mean, we're going to see a new player Saturday, like you mentioned, in Mario McKinney, which is just exciting in itself. So, yeah, just a lot of things to be excited about. It's a new season, fresh new look.
Yeah.
It's fresh for everybody. So, yeah, let's go. We got one
Definitely.
down, first one down, 30 to go.
And if I could say one more thing, too, for the Aggies with what Coach Heyer is bringing over there, that's going to be a fun team to watch, too, if you're an Aggie fan. I don't want to say there's a drop-off that isn't there. I think there is a bit. You're going from one of your best coaches in program history to a guy who's new, but this new guy is under that same tree. Those philosophies are going to be there. It'll be real interesting to see what Heyer does, not only in this game, but throughout the season. I don't want to say it's plug and play, but it's as close as it can be. They're going to have a fun year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun either way, man. I really do. I appreciate it, Sal. Thanks for everything you do. We'll talk to you Saturday. Appreciate everybody here joining us. Kenny, UTEP Zay, Kingsley, Renee Tires, proud owner of Wind Supply El Paso, getting ready for our Hot Handed Award later on in the season. Special thanks to our listeners like Joe Chacon, Trolley Dodger, UTEP Mineto, Eric, who hung out with us, Carlos, Richard, Romeo, Francisco. Appreciate all you guys listening in here on MinerTalk as we wind things down. That'll do it for us. For Sal Montes, I'm Adrian Broadus, signing off and saying so long, and thanks for listening to MinerTalk. We'll be back, 600 ESPN El Paso.